Devil in a red dress. Call 911, I'm a killer. You know I hate to confess. Bang, bang, got my hand on the trigger. The devil in a
Hello, Trabant.
Hello, Tito.
Who do we have on the screen here?
This gentleman is a Canadian political commentator, Tom Mulcair, who was also a leader of New Democratic Party in Canada. And he is talking about the current events regarding the feud, the diplomatic feud between Canada and China.
Wow, I see. It says here there are some concerns over Chinese retaliation. What happened?
Let's listen what he has to say.
All right, well, let's have a look.
Meanwhile, let's talk about the big action we're seeing from China, where they have, of course, declared a Canadian diplomat person non grata over there. Many would say, Tom, this is tit for tat, pretty much on expected lines. Even Foreign Affairs Minister had said that we will take action, but of course, we have to evaluate the consequences carefully.
Yeah, and that's what they've been saying since day one, Akshay. And, you know, on Friday, for example, Melanie Joly sounded extremely concerned about standing up and applying Canadian law. And on Sunday, during his press conference from London, Mr. Trudeau was so timorous in addressing this. I mean, he couldn't have been clearer in communicating to the Chinese that they had him worried. I'm sorry, but that's not a very good way to show strength in defending the institutions and the democracy of your country. So it's been an uncharacteristic situation for Mr. Trudeau, where he's been constantly on the back foot. He gets pushed hard. Yesterday there was about to be a resolution in the House, and it's only at that very moment that the Liberals finally decided to announce that they were expelling the Chinese diplomat. Of course, it took about 5 seconds for them to do the same thing with a Canadian diplomat from Shanghai. Let's see whether it stays there or it continues. But you can't constantly communicate that you're worried about another country that you know has been breaking your law. And Mr. Trudeau was clear on that last week. It took him forever to finally admit it. But he said, oh yes, well, CSIS had that information, but I've told CSIS they better make sure that it makes it to the upper floors next time. It's their fault. They didn't tell us. And about 4 hours later, we found out, no, CSIS had done its job, and it informed the closest advisor on these issues around the Prime Minister. And of course, Prime Minister Trudeau's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, has already said on the public record that she gets everything on the security side, and Mr. Trudeau reads it all. So the whole story is starting to fall apart. It was so lame today for them to be blaming the Conservatives for not having acted on this when they were in power 8 years ago. Right. That they had so many years they could have done it. Australia has a registry for foreign agents. The United States have done the same thing. We have to do the same thing, period. It's not very complicated, but for whatever reason, Trudeau and the people around him are afraid of that as well.
Indeed. Okay, of course the debate will continue, but for the moment we appreciate you joining us. Tom Mulcair, CTV News political commentator and former NDP leader. Thanks again, Tom.
All the best, Akshay.
Thank you.
Wow, so what do you make of this?
So to sum up what Tom Mulcair said is after in basically what happened is in July 2021 Canadian lawmaker Michael Chong is putting forward a motion in Parliament that would declare China's treatment of Uyghurs as genocide.
Oh, wow. And how did that go
After
over?
that, Chinese diplomat Zhao Wei approached Michael Chong and threatened him, actually threatened his family residing in Hong Kong.
Oh, because he's ethnically
some
Chinese,
consequences.
so he has some family in Hong Kong still. Yeah.
He comes, apparently he comes from the Hong Kong of Hong Kong immigrants, and his family, some of his family is still in Hong Kong. So they were threatening him of consequences for his family still living in Hong Kong.
Wow, that's insane. And that's
Well,
not
this is-
not even mainland China. But then again, as we know, Hong Kong basically is mainland China at this point.
At this point, it is. Hong Kong is just like another city in mainland China. Officially, one country, two systems, but technically it's the same system since 2020.
Far
So, what
down the
happened?
slope towards 2049.
Yeah, that's 2021. Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was after this, Canadian Secret Intelligence Service reported on this event to Canadian Prime Minister, particularly his Chief of Staff, informed him. CSIS, Canadian Secret Intelligence Service, informs the Chief of Staff, Trudeau's Chief of Staff, but Trudeau failed to act. And even in, I think it was last week, he actually blamed CSIS of not forwarding any information about this incident, which was proved to be lie.
Yeah, as
So
we've
Trudeau-
seen that they reported to him, and his aide confirmed this as well.
Yeah, it was confirmed. And after that, there was a big pressure by the conservative MPs. There was a big discussion in the parliament. And after all this long talk, Trudeau capitulated and decided to expel this Chinese diplomat Zhao Wei from Canada. And right after that, of course, it took like, as Mr. Malker said, 5 seconds for the Chinese to expel Canadian consul from Shanghai.
Wow. So China was very quick to reciprocate. Yeah.
They were discussing.
No
Actually,
hesitation
Trudeau
at all on the part of China.
was- China didn't hesitate at all. Yeah, no discussion on their side. Trudeau actually was kind of defending himself, like, okay, wait a moment, we have to think what China is going to do to us, right? After we expel Chinese diplomat, we shouldn't be too quick, right? This is not too easy. This decision is difficult. We need to talk about it and think about it. You know, if we're going to actually follow the Canadian law, which is very clear. But eventually.
Well, I mean, according to Canadian law, they also cannot threaten someone. Well, they threaten his family, but this is what kind of a message would
Unacceptable.
Would it be if they did nothing? What kind of a message would that be sending to the Canadian citizens?
Unfortunately, this is not Trudeau's biggest concern. I think he doesn't care about Canadian law. For some reason, he is kowtowing to China, and he is willing to take blows time to time. China give presents Trudeau, like the last time when Chinese President Xi Jinping, right on camera, basically humiliated Trudeau, telling him that he leaked some secret conversation between them, and Trudeau just, yeah, fine, well, this is what I'm here for, right?
And then Xi Jinping
Take
called
the
him
blows.
so naive. Hai Tianzhen. Maybe.
Yeah, very naive. Very naive, yeah. China treats Canada very badly for some reason.
Yeah, I
the more you
mean,
kowtow to them,
It's ridiculous.
they show you no respect. They show you no respect. The more you kowtow, the less respect you get from them.
Yeah,
China has a long history of expelling all these tit for tat moves,
yeah. I wanted to get to
expelling
that.
diplomats.
We can
Yeah,
we
right
can
and
see
left.
a historical photograph here. This is then Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau sitting with Deng Xiaoping in 1983.
So Pierre Trudeau is the father of Justin Trudeau,
Oh yeah, yeah, I see.
and this was his last visit actually in Beijing. Trudeau was serving like 3 terms. The first time he arrived in Beijing in the 60s,
Wow.
right after the Cultural Revolution, right after China or the communist regime slaughtered millions, between 40 to 80 millions of Chinese people. Trudeau had no problem to start this new chapter of Canadian diplomacy by befriending totalitarian states such as China or Cuba.
Wow.
What is this? What is this
Why?
article we are looking at right now?
This is an article from Cleo Pascal, one of the few writers or analysts that have been able to sort of describe the history of Canadian politics and China. And she goes,
This is one of the very, very few articles, yeah, that might explain why not only Justin Trudeau or his father, but also other 3 prime ministers of Canada shows the path of some kind of negotiator between the totalitarian states and Western democracies.
I see. Huh. Because you can see that,
No.
yeah, she goes way back here.
It starts in the 19th century. Okay, long story short. At the end of the 19th century, 500 Methodist missionaries arrive in China. And after a few decades, they become advisors to Chiang Kai-shek,
Huh.
and later sympathizers to the communist regime.
Well, that is ironic. They were missionaries, and were they trying to stay in China that hard, or what were they afraid of? You know, were
But this
they-
is so weird.
yeah, were they afraid of for the people that they converted, for Chinese Christians? Because there have been these kinds of acts of violence against missionaries in the 19th century. For example, this is how the Boxer Rebellion got started. A lot of Chinese,
Right.
some Chinese were resentful against Westerners, but oftentimes, unfortunately, they took it out on missionaries, you know, who were not to blame for these problems.
We can go a little bit back even to the Chinese ancestrism, or like some of the boxers, I believe, were claiming to be Jesus Christ reincarnated. So here we go again, mixing like 2 religions together.
Yeah, I think this was a different one, but yeah, this was another uprising in China as well. Yeah.
Not the boxer. Okay, the other one. Okay. So anyway, so these missionaries or their kids, so-called mish kids, became advisors to the communist dictators,
And
Mao Zedong.
later on, for example, they would go on to serve in diplomacy. Some of them might have been ambassadors.
They will become ambassadors to China, Canadian ambassadors to China. They founded, or they founded some institutions when they were basically teaching how to do foreign trade and how to start a business.
I see.
And later they become advisors to the Canadian prime ministers the on the China issues. And this is when China suddenly finds its new path of foreign policies and becomes a new friend of China.
So I still find it very strange. You would think that these people would have a firm grasp on how China behaves or how Chinese politics work and how Chinese statements behave, right?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. One would think so. One would think so. Especially after slaughtering the millions of their own people in Cultural Revolution or the Great Leap Forward.
Yeah.
It was unprecedented in the history of mankind. Something like this would never been seen and hopefully never will be seen again.
Yes.
Yeah, so unbelievable. So this is where I think this is the Cleo Pascal actually it's a very interesting point that this might be the very root why Canada is behaving as it's behaving these days.
Yeah. It's funny here. She does mention the case of the Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. I keep getting her name wrong. Let's just call her Princess Huawei. Huawei Gongju.
Huawei princess, yeah, that sounds correct. This is how she's called actually in China. Huh?
I don't know. Haven't had the chance to meet her or be exchanged for her, but yeah, there would.
Yeah, she's the Rapunzel in the tower. She was imprisoned in the tower in Canada, and eventually, the Prince Xi Jinping released her from prison.
Wow, what a story! But at that time, this is well known. China did resort to hostage diplomacy. They arrested 2 Canadians just because of this at that time. So I understand that some states might be worried when they're dealing with China, but I mean this is not the case. What happened now, you know. Canada did the first move. They expelled a diplomat, so China will do the same in part. I think China might still resort to hostage diplomacy if they're expecting something in return. If they're waiting for another country to do something. Because as we can see, it has worked for them in the past. So why not do it again?
So if there was a chance that Canada would reinstall diplomat Zhao Wei, they would probably choose this hostage diplomat.
I mean, it's hard to completely rule that out. How to put it off the table?
No, I'm just joking. I agree with you. You said that because it was done, it cannot be undone. There is nothing that China wants from Canada to be undone. So there is no reason for taking Canadian hostages in China.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And they expelled just Chinese diplomats, and China expelled Canadian consul. So seems like China won this clash.
Yeah, well, good for them. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the motion on the Uyghur genocide. Whether something has already been adopted in the Canadian Parliament, or what's going to happen.
Let's follow this news, and we can make another episode regarding all these motions and laws around the world. Which parliaments of which countries actually consider the treatment of Uyghurs as genocide. I believe there are a few.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I mean, this is not the only. So the point is that you have to approach China sort of cautiously, but you need to be able to realize, what you can do and what you cannot. And this is not a time when you need to be, as a statement, in the case of Justin Trudeau, where you would need to be worried about what steps China might take in kind. In fact, Canada has a long history of being able to do this.
Yeah, Canada never had problems to expel diplomats from other countries such as Russia or I don't know, Venezuela. Like there are a few I would say famous cases like 2018 Canada as an act of solidarity with the UK when Russia tried to assassinate in a nerve gas attack Russian dissident Skripal and his daughter.
Yeah, you see here.
All around the European Union, in America and Canada, they expelled as an act of solidarity several Russian diplomats.
Wow.
Right. And on the other side, also China actually doesn't have any problems to expel diplomats from other countries as they seem fit, which according to the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, no country needs to give any explanation or reason when expelling a diplomat from another country. So this is not the problem they're looking at. But the problem is that China, like any other totalitarian state, is a reactionary state, which means they react. When they feel they are, when, for example, a Chinese diplomat is expelled, like in this case, after breaking Canadian law, they just feel free to expel as a tit for tat move, diplomat from that country for no reason.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. This is exactly the difference. I can understand that maybe the diplomacy wouldn't work properly if they would have to give reasons, but then you get a lot of totalitarian countries using this sort of expulsion diplomacy to further their own interests. Not whereas in most countries that have separation of powers and that have rule of law, they only expel diplomats if they've done something serious. I mean, this was done in solidarity with the United Kingdom, but this was because Russia killed someone, or they tried to kill someone. And for example, here in 2001, they expelled a Russian diplomat because he killed someone accidentally, but it's still a case of manslaughter. Whereas you see, China does not hesitate for a second. Well, sorry, maybe 5 seconds to expel a diplomat, in a tit for tat move.
Wouldn't be surprised if it was 5 seconds before Canada expelled the Chinese diplomat.
In anticipation. Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And like we were saying, China does use some normal diplomatic tools to really kind of pressure other countries. Do you remember the case from Lithuania?
I remember that Lithuania, Taiwan opened some office in Vilnius.
A representative office. You know why it's
representative office.
You know why it's an interesting wording. It's called a Taipei representative office. So it's not called an embassy. because they officially, if a country has diplomatic relations with the PRC, they cannot have uh, diplomatic relations with the ROC, the Republic of China, the government in
Right,
Taiwan.
right. So you can open office named Chinese Taipei.
Yeah,
It
kind
should
of
be okay.
kind of a representative, but not completely. It's not. The point is, it cannot be on the same level as an embassy. Yeah.
It's never is. It never is. Yeah, because. But this office was actually named Taiwan office, right? That was the problem.
I don't know what it was called, but I don't know if that that was what irked China, if this irritated them.
Oh
But
no.
the point is, a lot of countries have these sorts of representative offices because a lot of countries do business with Taiwan. A lot of tourists go there. But in the past, everything seemed okay. Back when China wanted more engagement with other countries, but now it seems like China is trying to flex its muscle when other countries do these kinds of steps.
Uh-huh. It reminds me, China, like in 2017, made like several official points. The Foreign Affairs Bureau.
Oh, okay.
That China will be obliged to. Like point number one, they will never seek world hegemony, which is not true anymore.
Yeah.
And one of the other points, China respects every country, no matter big or small, equally.
That
this is not true.
That is kind of laughable here. You can see the way they're treating Lithuania. Lithuania closed its embassy in Beijing, but it's because China expelled its ambassador. Sorry, expelled the Lithuanian ambassador and recalled its own ambassador from Vilnius.
I see.
So then, what was the point of having the embassy there? I guess this is the only thing that Lithuania could do in kind.
Fortunately, Lithuania is in the European Union, so I'm sure that the other European Union embassies.
Oh yeah, they have these policies, so this is not a problem. They might still have a consulate there. I don't know, but yeah, it's very funny to see China react so strongly to this. So
China overreacts always overreacts. Never. It's not reaction anymore. It's overreaction. China is not a reactionary.
Good point. It's an
state.
overreactionary government. Yeah. Wow.
Exactly.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just funny. It's just show you how weak you are, basically, doesn't it?
I'm really curious what is going to happen next because these kinds of things, they will keep on happening. Yeah.
Yeah, but between Canada and China, like as you said, it's done.
No, you're right.
Done.
Yeah.
So right now, everybody's happy. Everybody is like a win-win. Everybody will say it's a win-win, and basically, nothing will happen for a few months, and then they will pretend everything is back normal. It's done. I believe it's done. It's over.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Fortunately.
let's see what will happen next.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see.
Let's keep an eye out. All right.
All right. Thanks, Tito.
Well, thanks a lot, and I'll see you next time.
See you in the next episode.
Take care. See you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.